Good evening, everybody. That's right, I said evening. This is a very, very special edition of Coast to Coast College Football Pregame Show. We're coming to you live on a Friday night. Why? Because it's Conference Championship Week, and we don't want to miss any games. We got two games kicking off later tonight before we get into the big slate Saturday morning. So we're here to cover it all like we always do. Top left corner, a very happy man. Buckeye brother from another mother. Jeremiah Smith still fumble. It's all right, though. Mr. Cottrell Simpson, how are you, sir?
Feeling good, man. I mean, how can you not feel good? Buckeyes completed the perfect regular season. They are in the Big Ten championship. Get to see them play tomorrow night, and everything is looking good over here in Columbus. I know we're gonna get into some of the news that can somber that mood a little bit, but I'm thinking about all the positive stuff, and I'm keeping my head held high, so I'm feeling good.
Well, that is good to hear, except for the part about the game, but we'll get into that later. Top right corner, Mr. Alex Elmore, Mr. West Coast, ex Pac 12, now almost veteran Big Ten member. He'll be a veteran Big Ten member next year. It'll be his third year. Getting ready for his playoff appearance. Oregon's locked in. How are you feeling, sir?
I'm feeling fantastic. Hey, Control, is this what it felt like last year being Ohio State, getting to sit at home during the conference championship week? Not
See,
you nothing, just woo. Take
you
it
don't
easy,
learn, bro.
man.
You don't learn.
Take it easy. We don't have to play an extra game. I love it. Obviously, we'll talk about the conference or the rankings here soon. I have a lot to talk about when it comes to those. But we beat Washington. We beat Oregon State. We beat everybody this year, obviously, except for Indiana. Hopefully we get a revenge trip at that. But it's been a great college football season. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be on the show and so much to talk about.
So on that point, we do what's fun to talk about. It's probably a good thing it's a Friday night show because I doubt we're going to be done in 2 hours. National Signing Day pretty much wrapped up, but as Cottrell hit into, still some really big names out there. Still some big names out there that all three of our programs are actually involved in. So we're going to talk about National Signing Day, how that went for all three of our teams, just nationally overall. Coaching carousel is just batshit crazy. So we have a lot to go over there. It's still going on. Got some breaking news late last night about a big program that's still looking for a coach. We're going to go over that. And then we're going to go right into, obviously, the debacle that still is the college football playoff ranking. So, and then on top of that, we have recaps from last week. We're going to preview all the big championship game weeks. Like I said, we're going to start with the two tonight. Big slate tomorrow for all the ones that matter. And then we'll finish up with Eliminator Mountain, and we'll get out of here and get ready for some Friday night football, which is great. So, without further ado, Mr. Elmore, please push the button. It's time for Break the Huddle.
Shotgun, DC right, flip 90, dig on the center. Ready?
All right, well, welcome back to another week of Break the Huddle as we go over all the top weekly news. This week, our entire news feed has been constantly filled with daily coaching changes. Coaches getting fired or let go, coaches getting hired, coaches changing jobs. Lots to talk about, lots to discuss. We'll also go into some National Signing Day news, and then we'll go over the top 25 and the current bracket and what it looks like. But first and foremost, we're going to jump into National Signing Day. Some of the biggest names, some of the biggest prospects have officially signed with their teams. Some players are still undecided. But I'm going to send this over to a man that knows a lot more about the recruiting trail than I do. Cottrell, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, so I mean, this has always been like my big thing. Like, I love looking forward to early signing day. I love like following the recruits throughout high school, seeing like how they progress and things like that. And with me, still being on paternity leave now, I've gotten to follow this, high school recruiting like the past month or so, a lot more extensive than even I normally do. So this has been a crazy like early signing day period so far. And earlier this week, so on Wednesday, you had the actual first time where everybody pretty much got to sign. And so first, I'll just kind of go over real quick what the actual composite rankings look like as far as who have the best classes so far going into next season. USC is sitting at number one right now. Oregon's right behind them. Then you got Notre Dame, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Miami, and then Michigan, pretty much right there with Miami. Those are your top 11 teams right there. Now, with that said, you still do have some pretty big names that are still not signed yet. You have the number one player in the country right now in Lamar Brown, who has been committed to LSU since earlier this summer. But with Lane Kiffin now being there, that is pretty much up in the air. He did an interview with, I believe it was CBS Sports, and he basically said, as much as I loved LSU, Lane Kiffin didn't even recruit me while he was at Ole Miss. So I need to figure out if that's still where I want to go. I need to figure out, if they still have the same kind of plans for me. So that's a big time recruit that's still on the board. You also have 2 5-star receivers that are still on the board that all of our schools are pretty much interested in right now. With me and Alex, it's Chris Henry Jr. Chris Henry Jr. is the number one receiver in the 2026 class, and he has been committed to being a Buckeye for the last 2 to 3 years now. But with Brian Hartline ultimately moving on to South Florida, it's pretty much up in the air with him. Signs are pointing that he's leaning towards going to Oregon, but Ryan Day just won't give up. And then for Bill, a guy who was leaning pretty heavy to go to Michigan, but ultimately committed to Syracuse, and Calvin Russell, he did not sign his letter of intent on Wednesday either. So Michigan seems to be back in the mix for him there as well. So I know it's a lot. I know I just kind of rambled on there for the last 3-4 minutes, but so many names, so much going on right now, especially now in the world of NIL there. But not sure exactly where you guys want to kind of touch on with this, but just kind of giving you the overview of the big points that have happened so far. And we're still pretty early in this process too. Like I said, that early signing day period can still happen. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we got word on some of these guys, putting ink to paper either, today, maybe tomorrow, or before the end of the weekend on Sunday.
All I can say is I'm happy with Oregon's recruiting class, number 2 in the country. Just like Dan Lanning said, it's not really, we don't have the biggest recruiting class. Like USC, I think it signed 21 guys. I think we're at 12 right now, I believe it is. I might be off on those numbers though. And like he said, though, it's quality over quantity. We already have a number of 5-stars that have signed already, including wide receivers Jalen Lott, Gatlin Bear. We also got Jet Washington out of Nevada, number 1 safety in the country, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of talent that's coming into Oregon, and if Chris Henry Jr. signs, we're just adding to that. And what people don't realize that we're building this for the future with this the success we already have. I know, I don't know what happened there. The success. Sorry, this is not BYU. My bad. The success that we're having on the field now and the talent that we're bringing into the program, there's nothing but excitement for the Oregon Duck fans going forward. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Michigan goes, another really good class, top solid class. They filled a lot of holes that they had to. Ironically, Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State are 3 of, I think it's 5 teams that actually signed. All 3 of them signed 2 top 25 receivers to this class. And as you guys mentioned, one of the 2 of you is going to get another 5-star kid, and we're still hoping to pull it in Calvin Russell. Flipped Brady Marchese last night, late from Georgia after losing Zion Robinson, who was committed for a while. Decided to go to Stanford. Still can't wrap my head around that one. But, overall, I'm really happy. They held on to Sider, obviously, which was the crown jewel of the class. Number 1 running back in the country. Kid's a beast. Our running back room next year is going to be insane. So, I'm glad they're trying to get weapons for Bryce Underwood. A couple of receivers in this class, and like I said, hopefully getting another 5-star kid. I think we signed Russell. They already said we'll leapfrog Miami and maybe who's in front of them. So it's going to be a top 10 class when it's all said and done. So I have no complaints over here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of it too is that, obviously this is the early signing day period. So of course you want to have as many people as on paper as possible, because this is going to give those kids the opportunity to be on campus in January and start practicing. And especially for those big time players, like, you mentioned Hyder, at Michigan, like him being on campus in January, that's going to give him ability to play pretty much right away when the season starts, if he can find himself in that rotation there. And then same thing with you, Alex, like Jaden Lott's probably going to have a shot to start or at least get some significant playing time there as a true freshman. So Chris Henry Jr. is another one that wherever he goes, he's going to play, whether it be Ohio State. Of course, I'm hoping for him to ultimately come here. But if he doesn't, he's one of those kids, like I've been saying it pretty much ever since he committed to us. I don't think he's quite as good as what Jeremiah Smith was coming out of high school, but he's just like one notch beneath that. Jeremiah Smith is a crazy recruit, like coming in as a true freshman, being the best receiver in the country. Like that's a completely unheard of kind of thing there. I think Chris Henry Jr., though, he's one of those players that he can go out and start at any school in the country. So very curious to see, ultimately where he ends up there. But as a whole, even with Hartline leaving, I'm very happy with what Ohio State was able to bring in now. And like I was mentioning too, the other side of this is that you're going to have more kids coming in February too. So this is just pretty much getting a massive head start in the game before February comes, and you really have to lock people down. So this is, for some people, this is still a starting point, especially with all the jobs that we're about to be talking about soon here as well. Just not having a clue who's going to be going where. So it's still going to be important to have those relationships, because you might be somebody's second option right now in December, but if that coach goes somewhere else and they've already got, too many kids on scholarship or whatever the case may be, and you're not in your plans, you may have a recruit who you're looking at and you're really strong on, and come February, they're still looking for a home and they ultimately end up signing with you. So I love this time of year here. And, I'm very curious of who is going to ultimately get some of these top prospects that are still on the board.
What was your most surprising signing for you? Like, were you surprised to see that Jared Curtis had flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt?
I mean, I was definitely surprised to ultimately see that officially. There had been rumors and rumblings of it for like a week and a half of that potentially being the case. Vanderbilt also flipped a kid, for whatever reason his name escapes me, but they also flipped
Four-star receiver
from Bama to
the 4-star receiver.
Yep.
I can't remember who it is, but I saw the same thing.
I think if nothing else, this goes to show you, and I'm not just saying, like, Vanderbilt's had some success, so I do want to give them credit there, but this really goes to show you that NIL has really evened the playing field when it comes to recruiting, because I don't know when the last time I've ever heard of, if literally ever, about a player flipping his commitment for football away from Georgia, away from Alabama, to go to Vanderbilt. So like it's a ton of credit to Clark Lee and that staff there, but it's also a testament to where NIL is right now.
It'll be interesting to see if I guess they do put out the NIL rankings, correct? Like how much each player is getting essentially. So we will get to see that hopefully before too long. But I was going somewhere with that. I mean, this has to play a huge decision, in the coaching changes obviously are causing a lot of players to kind of take their time with their decision. What was that you were saying yesterday? You sent us a screenshot, I believe, of someone's Instagram post. Essentially, their mom wanted them to sign to Tennessee, and he wanted to sign to Ohio State. Please tell me more on that. Tell me more on that.
Legend Bay is the top athlete in this 2026 class. So he plays quarterback in high school, but he's most likely going to get converted to a running back or a receiver type in college. Like he doesn't have a college, big time college arm. So with that being the case, though, he was originally a Tennessee commit. He had committed to Tennessee like a while ago, but then he flipped to Ohio State maybe about a month and a half ago or so. And all signs were pointing to him signing with Ohio State. Even the morning of signing day, there were pictures floating around of him in his high school, decked out in Ohio State gear. He had his table all set up with Ohio State stuff. He had pictures, cupcakes, like everything pointed to him signing with Ohio State. But apparently behind the scenes, his mom and his family did not want him to go to Ohio State. They want him to go to Tennessee. And there were reports that his mom basically told him, if you don't go to Tennessee, I'm not signing off on it. And Legend Bay is a kid that's 17 right now, doesn't turn 18 for a few more weeks here. So he was really kind of put in a tight spot where he wanted to sign on signing day. And of course he could have waited, but then that puts him in this kind of weird spot. And, as a high school kid, like, you only get one signing day. Like, of course, you can flip your commitment and things like that. But, this is supposed to be a special time for him. And I guess he felt like he was in a position where he had to ultimately choose Tennessee on signing day. So there's been a lot of reports now about how, he's unhappy with that commitment. And after he turns 18, he's going to try and do whatever he can to get out of that commitment with Tennessee. And of course, with him being an Ohio State commit, I want him to come to Ohio State, of course. But even bigger than that, there was a story very similar to this either last year or 2 years ago with a kid that wanted to go to Ole Miss, but his family wanted him to go to Mississippi State, and they forced him to go to Mississippi State. And
I remember this.
So I was vocal then about it, and I'm going to be vocal here about it. When kids know what they want to do and they're put in a position where, their family is just against it and they're not going to sign off on it, it's tough to see. And, I could just tell based on like the pictures and the things that he's been posting on Twitter and Instagram. He's like, my parents have taken over my social media accounts because I'm not going to because I wanted to sign with Ohio State. And so it's just been an absolute mess. And I definitely feel for the kid. I hope it all gets settled for him, even if it's not Ohio State. If the kid doesn't want to go to Tennessee and they can meet on a common ground somewhere with another school, like even still, like I'd be cool with that too. But it's tough to see for sure.
Yeah, it's a wild story. I was hearing bits and pieces of it, and obviously you get those posts on Facebook that aren't exactly accurate. So I kind of just want to hear what you had heard. That's just a wild story.
And the crazier part about it too is that like it'd be one thing if the kid was from Knoxville or the kid was from Nashville, like, and they were keeping him kind of somewhat close to home.
Close to home.
He's a Texas kid, so like I don't know where the hang up is about him going to Ohio. I mean, Ohio State is further than what Tennessee is. Like I understand that, but if that's what he wants to do,
hate Ohio State, man. I wouldn't let my kids go there. I get it. I understand.
I mean, after week one, I would hate us too. They think that we're the reason they're not going to the playoffs, so maybe they're just deranged Longhorns fans.
Bill, any final comments on National Signing Day before we jump into obviously the coaching carousel?
No, just like what Cottrell said. I mean, I want to say there's still 8 or 9 5-star kids that are not signed. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they sign by the end of the weekend or if this drags on to February. You do have the coaching changes that have obviously changed some kids' opinions on certain things. LSU's had a bunch of kids decommit. A couple of them stayed with Ole Miss, and that whole situation is going to be fun to watch. But to Cottrell's point, like I said, it leaves, if you sign early, it gives you a really big head start on your freshman year. But if not, I mean, these kids that don't sign, if they don't sign and they wait till February, the recruitment battles for some of these kids is going to be bonkers. And I'm sure it just makes it even more stressful and harder on the kids to make decisions. So I do agree with Cottrell, what he was saying there at the end. If you're trusting your kid to make the right decision. If he makes the decision that he feels is best for him, that's where he should go. I mean, he's the one that's got to go to school in Ohio State or Tennessee or wherever he's going to end up. And if that's where he felt comfortable and those are the coaches that he liked, I don't know why you wouldn't want your child to be as comfortable as possible, especially if he's going to go that far away, regardless of which school he goes to play football. So hate to see that. At the same time, it's, I would assume as a parent, it's probably hard to go through this whole process as well. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting couple days still. Obviously, we talked about the receivers. There's a couple good defensive players and linemen. Anybody would love to have them. So it always makes it interesting for the kids that hang on to February, because a lot of the times then they end up signing with a school that you never see coming because it's just 2 more months of phone calls and promises of money and NIL and everything else. So overall, crazy signing period. A lot of flips. And again, some big names, but again, some of them, we're coaching bias. So can't be that surprised. And even if no coaches switch teams, people flip all the time anyway. So It's kind of what makes signing day fun.
Well, that's the thing about coaches flipping is that's probably what like I said earlier. The main reason Chris Henry Jr. is still undecided is obviously Brian Hartline, huge impact wide receivers at Ohio State University. In the last few years alone, he's had 5 first-round picks. He obviously moves down to South Florida. That's causing a little bit of turmoil for Chris Henry Jr. and his decision of where he's ultimately going to end up. There's a lot of coaches moving, a lot of coaches moving around the board right now. Let's jump into a couple big-time moves. Obviously, we had James Franklin take the Virginia Tech job recently. His former job, Penn State, they seem to be struggling mightily right now, not only in finding a coach, but also with National Signing Day just passing. They're currently ranked 150th with their signing class right now. Obviously, not having a head coach is a huge issue right there. But, Bill, I heard that you may have some news for us regarding that Penn State coaching search.
So I do work with somebody who went to Penn State, and he actually told me this last night. And then, funny enough, right before I went to bed, I saw it on 3. It looks like Penn State has turned all their attention to trying to hire Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I would say just gut reaction. I think it's a great hire for them if they can make it happen. Matt Campbell has been on the short list for a couple other big jobs, Michigan included. I think he would do great in the Big Ten. He already has a lot of recruiting connections in the Midwest. And I think he's a Penn State type of guy. I think, me and Alex were talking about before we came on, like I could never see Matt Campbell coaching in like the SEC. He's not a flashy guy like that. Like I think the Big 12 or the Big 10 is where he would cut his teeth. He's an old school. I think he's an old school type of football coach. I think he'd be a great fit for Penn State if they can lock it down and make it happen. I know there's a lot of people there that want the interim guy to stay. I think that's going to be a battle between the athletic department and kind of the board of directors and all that. I don't think he's ever going to get a fair shot at the job. But to Alex's point, they have to do something, and they have to do something quick. James Franklin pretty much, emptied the cupboard of all the good Penn State recruits and flipped them to Virginia Tech.
Took them all.
There was 2 kids that stayed committed to Penn State. God bless their souls. I applaud them for honoring their commitment. But I think if you hire Matt Campbell now and you give him a little bit of a head start, I think, like Cottrell said, till they sign on paper, and really enroll and get to school, I mean, everybody's still technically free game. So I don't know if you can flip people back, but you cannot be Penn State and go into next season with a recruiting class ranked beneath Montana State and McNeese State. That cannot happen. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot here. They got to get going and get back on track. And they're obviously going to have to hit the portal really hard. So it's going to be an interesting watch. Like I said, I think that's a great hire for them if they can do it. If he turns them down, I don't know. I don't know where they go. I really don't.
Well, I mean, how much leverage do they have? Hold on, sorry, Coach. Real quick. I mean, how much leverage? I mean, if I was a coach, I wouldn't want to go to Penn State. I mean, look what they did to James Franklin. That man led them to 10 win after 10 win after 10 win season. Took them to Big Ten championship games. Took them to semifinals in the college football playoff. Has a bad season. Loses a couple games after Oregon. That Oregon loss he maybe should not have lost. And they cut ties with him, showing absolutely zero loyalty to James Franklin and what he's done for the university. And now with this recruiting class as low as 150th ranked, what incentive is there to take over this program? Penn State's not that big of a brand anymore.
So this was what I would say to that. I do think Penn State is still that big of a brand. Now, it's tough in comparison to some of the other schools in the Big Ten right now. You see Ohio State having the success. You see Oregon having the success. Hell, you see Indiana having the success, and they're not even, going crazy on the recruiting trail. Michigan's still going to be there. So, like, in comparison to the Big Ten, like, I get it. Like, in today's age, like, Penn State isn't that, high profile, not high profile, but, like, they're not having the same success that, everybody else is right now in this down season. But I think two things can be true, right? So, like, I agree with you in the sense that it was kind of messed up how Penn State went about things. Like you're 3-3 at that time. You just kind of get rid of him. He had been there for, I believe, 9 years. And you fire him in the middle of the season. Like, I understand, like, optics of that do look very bad. But on the flip side of it, though, you also have to look at it and say, hey, this is a school where their expectation is winning a national championship. Now, granted, they haven't done it in a long time, but they came into the season saying that, hey, this is a roster that we've put together that can win a national championship. At Iowa State, that's never your goal. I think your goal is to beat Iowa, maybe win the Big 12, and just win as many games as possible. Maybe make a good bowl game. Like, even last year, they faced off against Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, and them losing that game, like, we didn't really care, you know? It was like, all right, Iowa State had a good year, and we're just going to see them in some decent bowl game and really just kind of go from there. So I think for Matt Campbell, at a point, you kind of get stagnant. And I'm not saying Iowa State is a bad job, but Penn State is 100% a better job. And if his aspirations are to not just win football games and put numbers on the board, but to eventually work towards winning a national championship, going to Penn State is going to give him the opportunity to do that. So I think that is the part that can be enticing for some coaches. Now, of course, it's going to be different when you have like your Clark Lees, your Brent Keys, your just all these other coaches, Marcus Freeman's, who are at programs already that feel like they're on the verge of, you know, getting or having success in the college football playoff. Iowa State's not there. So I think that's the part, if you're Matt Campbell, that should be at least somewhat enticing about Penn State. Not to mention he's a Midwest kid, you know, through and through. I mean, he's from Ohio. So he has the recruiting path up here already. So, like, I think it could be enticing to get closer to home and, you know, just get on that recruiting trail. And, I mean, you're going to be more likely to land 5 stars at Penn State than you are Iowa State.
I look at it this way, you know, and this is obviously a conversation Matt Campbell's going to have probably with himself. But, you know, what do you want your legacy to be? You know, he can stay at Iowa State for the next 20 years and be an Iowa State legend. But, like, at some point, you're going to have to wonder, you know, could you have got it done somewhere else? Like, I mean, if that's what you want to be and you want to walk around Ames, Iowa and be a legend there, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you know, I would think he'd want to challenge himself and go to a bigger program. We say this all the time, and it's one of the reasons why his name comes up on all these lists. He's an overachiever there. He gets the most out of that program and the most out of those kids with the resources he has. He goes to Penn State. It's like going to Candyland for him. Like that is going to be a completely different world in regards to money, resources, facilities. You know, you could say it's not a big brand, but it's just not true. It is. Is it Ohio State, Michigan, or Oregon? No, but you're talking about 3 of the top 6 or 7 in the country. Penn State's in that next tier. Like they have a ton of Nike money. Like that. Penn State is a big brand. It is.
They're going to Adidas.
Yeah, well, they're going to Adidas, but you know, and again, they're going to get a shit ton of Adidas. So
they are.
It's a big brand. So I would push back a little bit on that. You know, and it's I think it's a big choice if he wants to go challenge himself and see if he can get it done somewhere else. If he doesn't, again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think, like Cottrell said, I don't think he's ever going to be any more successful than in Iowa State than he already is.
And the other thing too, I would look at it like Penn State is a school that just last year they went out and said, hey, we are as close as possible to a national championship. Mm-hmm. We're going to pay our defensive coordinator the highest amount of money in the country. We're going to give him over $3 million to come in. If I see that and I'm Matt Campbell, I'm like, all right, they are committed to giving me the resources that I need. If they gave James Franklin these resources, imagine, like, I've been doing this with 50% essentially of what James Franklin has had. Imagine what I can do if I get all of this money and get to bring in my kids or get to bring in even better kids. Because, I mean, he was doing it with Rocco Beck. Not saying he's a bad player, but he's doing it with Rocco Beck winning 11 games in the year. Imagine if he was able to go out and spend some money and bring in, you know, a Bryce Underwood or a Julian Sand or a Dante Moore from the portal to his program. So that would be the part that would be appealing to me if I'm Matt Campbell.
And I think to Alex's first point, which I would agree with, they could have decided to fire Franklin and let him finish the season. I think there was so much unrest after the Northwestern loss, they kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I think he probably deserved to finish the season because I don't think you're in any worse of a situation than you are right now if you do. So I think there's probably a little, I would say hesitancy is probably the right word. But at the same time, you have to look at, again, Penn State has standards. And, you say winning 10 games a year, that doesn't fly anymore when you see two Big Ten schools win a Big Ten championship back-to-back. We talked about Indiana. Obviously, your Oregon Ducks. Those are all programs right now that, if we're all being honest, have passed Penn State. And I don't think they're okay with being fifth chair in the Big Ten. And that's realistically where they are right now. You could argue sixth with USC. So I think they wanted to go make a splash, and they felt like they had to make a move there. So, that's a proud program. I mean, I know with everything that went on kind of with the end of Paterno and everything, but that's a program with a huge fan base that's used to winning. 10 games is great, but when you watch Michigan win a national championship, and then you watch Ohio State win a national championship, and you watch Indiana go hire a new coach and come out of nowhere, and now they look like they're going to be a 10 or 11 win team every single year. And then you Oregon with, arguably the best young coach in the country. 9-10 wins a season don't cut it. You don't got to win the national championship every year, but you got to win one once in a while to settle everybody down. So it's, they're in a tough spot, but I'm actually pulling for Penn State to hire Matt Campbell because I think it's a great fit. I really do.
I want them to have to hire the guy who's there now. I want them to be the first high-profile job on the market, and I want them to be the last job to get filled. That's what I want. I want complete chaos in Penn State. That's what I want.
I think you got chaos at Penn State already.
As a fan of a Big Ten team, I can 100% understand that, because why make our life harder if we know what Terry Smith is right now? Like, he gets those guys to play hard, but he's not scaring any of the top contenders. So
he's not out recruiting anybody. He's not going to go in a room and out recruit Lanning. Even Sharon Moore, obviously Ryan Day. Like he's not. He's just not. And Penn State can't be a school that falls back on me like, all right, cool, we got a bunch of 3-star kids. Like, that's not what that school is. It's not what that program is. It deserves better. And I give that guy all the credit in the world to come into that situation, get that locker room to stay together, and then start winning games again at the end of the year. But we've seen it too often in the past. That doesn't necessarily equate to long-term success. Because again, when you're the right guy for that type of situation to rally the kids emotionally and get them to play, that's only one little part of the job, and I hate to say it, but recruiting has become more important than ever with NIL and everything else. I don't know if he is at that type of level where he's going to be able to recruit consistently enough to put that program over the top. It's one thing James Franklin did very well.
Are there any other coaching moves that you were either surprised by or you're really looking forward to see kind of how it works out?
I mean, Alex, for you, it should be Lane Kiffin. I mean, you told us for 6
I'm wearing my visor in honor of Kiffin, my man.
You told us for 6 weeks that Lane was going to be coaching Ole Miss the rest of the year, next year, the years following. He could win a national championship this year, and
I did.
Alas, he basically said, "Yeah, I don't care about any of that. I'm going to do what's best for me," which I'm not faulting him for that part of it, but the way that he went out and just left everything in shambles there, I mean, it was very Lane Kiffin. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on that whole situation there with Ole Miss and LSU, and has your perception of Lane Kiffin changed at all? Because we told you this was going to happen 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, there's definitely two people on the show that are not surprised that Lane Kiffin's coach LSU.
Here's the thing. I wasn't surprised. I was just hopeful. I think the things that have come out after the move is what's really been catching me off guard. Like, the potential fake dog.
Wait, that he's a piece of shit like we told you he was? Which part?
No.
Which line? Which
I
line?
like Darth.
Which
I-
line was your
I
favorite?
like
Which
Darth
line
Vader.
was your favorite? Oh, Jesus.
The one that he said that somebody
I
ran him
like
off the
the
road
evil
when he had a
character.
police escort to the tarmac. Like,
Trying to
Yeah.
run him off the road. Though there were fans flipping him off, but no, it's for me. I think it's the fake dog story is really what's catching me off guard the most. Did he have a dog? Did he not have a dog? I'm concerned. Like, where is this dog? They leave this dog alone in their house. Is somebody watching this dog? That's
they
what
left
I
the
wanna
dog.
know.
They left the dog in Oxford.
It's not their dog. Yeah, somebody from Ole Miss like trolled them because they took a picture of
The juice.
like the dog from behind, like just kind of like looking in the middle of nowhere. And I can't remember what the caption was, but it was hilarious because it was kind of like a play on. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're not horrible, but they're just sad dog commercials where they're like it's like the champagne for don't drink and drive because like if you go out and get drunk and don't come back, like your dog just sits there and waits for you. It was it was like a parody of that. It was so well done, and I think they took it down because I can't find it anywhere. But it was hilarious. But whatever, keep going. Go ahead, defend your boy.
So last year, he made good points. I trust his reasoning why he left when it came down to how much money are you going to give me for the players. And LSU is throwing $25 million at him. That's nothing you can bat your eyes at. Well, who was the highest paid college football team last year? Ohio State. Texas Tech is the highest paid college football team this year, and they've made absolute waves in 1 year. Bill, you even said yourself, you thought they were a year away. And that high price roster has already put them in the college football playoff and the Big 12 championship in year one. So getting that $25 million, that could be that's exactly what pushed him to go to LSU. I completely believe that. And I think what he can do at LSU is scary with that kind of budget. I think that he may be the new powerhouse in the SEC going forward.
My question to you though would be, so what about when he had the meeting with Ole Miss and their athletic director and their chancellor and everybody, and they said, whatever you're getting from LSU, we'll match it. Like, what about that part of it?
There's no way they're matching.
Yeah, what about that?
Match the 25 mil. There's no way. Okay, I could see them matching the salary, but I guarantee that the $25 million to the players was not on the table.
I'm just saying that was what was reported. On 3, yes. I saw reported it. I saw,
and I think that came down to they matched salary. I don't think they were matching the player package.
It said that everything was getting matched. It said both were going to get matched there. And here's the thing though, Alex. So like, I'm not necessarily getting on you about Lane taking the job. LSU's a better job. Like, I think I said that from the get go, and I still fully believe that. So like, I'm not even upset about that part of it. Lane leaving to go to LSU, it makes sense. It's a better job. My thing though is that how you go out matters, and I think to me at least, it says everything that he told Ole Miss, and I know he was, desperate to try and coach and things like that, but told him he was going to take all their recruits, he was going to take all their coaches if they didn't let him coach in the rest of the season. They told him that, and then they ultimately let their offensive coordinator come back. He told all the assistant coaches, like, if you're not on this plane with me, going to Baton Rouge right now, then you're not going to be on my next staff. And
he was on the plane. He was on the plane.
He was.
He got on the plane and went. So he did. He did follow the rules. All right. He was on the plane and then he came back.
He did 100%. But what I'm saying though is that Charlie Wise Jr. though, the only reason why he's able to come back, because I'm sure on his way out, he handled things like an adult. He probably said, hey, Lane said I either go or I'm not going to be in this next job. I can go be the OC at LSU. That's going to parlay me into being a head coach somewhere. Like, I know that because I'm that good. So, like, I can understand that, but they wouldn't let him come back if he was also an asshole. And that's why Lane's not coaching at Ole Miss. Well, part of the reason. I think that's like 50% of the reason for the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when you said, he starts threatening to steal the staff and the players, that's just a man in complete desperation mode, right? He wanted nothing more than to finish the season off at Ole Miss and to coach that team in the playoffs. And when he was told no repeatedly, he became desperate. And when people become desperate, they throw out empty threats. Now, I'm not saying that they're empty. I guarantee he's going to be petty, and he's going to try to steal as many staff and as many recruits as possible. I'm not saying he ain't going to do that because he definitely is. But what I'm saying is that to me, that sounds to me like a bad breakup. And but it's weird though, because he's acting like the one that was being broken up with when he was actually the one doing the dumping. Because usually it's the one that's being broken up with through like, threatening things. So it was a little backwards for me. But I do think that he was just a desperate man who wanted to coach this team the rest of the way as his chance at the national championship. And Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss has set themselves back 6 years with their new hire. They have they might as well put Ole Miss back in the Stone Age with their new coaching hire. I think that is a terrible move. I think they may win 1 or 2 games in the playoff just on straight emotion. But I think this is an absolutely terrible hire for Ole Miss. And it's just a quick reaction. There's so many good coaches that were available that they could have at least taken a day to even speak to before making this instant decision to kind of hire a coach, which I get with National Signing Day coming up. At that time, they needed someone to put into place to kind of try to keep the recruits. And he was one of the guys that connects with the team the best. He was one of the guys on the recruiting trail that was really kind of connecting with the players that they were recruiting to try to bring it to Ole Miss. So I understand the hire. It just felt rushed, and I think that it's going to be an ultimately terrible decision on the part of the university.
So, Bill, I know you want to say something here, and I'll let you chime in. I just got 2 last things I want to say before you go ahead and put your 2 cents in. One of those being, I mean, you can say it's a terrible hire, but it worked out for the last school that had a snake head coach that ultimately decided to leave and go to LSU. And I'd say Notre Dame is pretty happy that they hired their defensive coordinator at the time, and Marcus Freeman.
This guy's not Marcus Freeman.
Instead of having Brian Kelly still be the coach of their team. So I'm not saying he's Marcus Freeman. Like, I'm not putting that on him. I think Marcus Freeman was a great coach then. And I think he's, shown his worth, so far as a head coach there. And I'm not saying he is Marcus Freeman, but it says something when the guys really rally around who ultimately got hired. I saw the introductory press conference after they named him the head coach there, and just kind of piggybacking off of that there, Lane Kiffin said that, all of his players wanted to see him coach in the playoff, and they were going to go to war for him. And, even still, the AD still said no. But then the starting offensive line all came out on Twitter and said, yeah, that's not exactly how that conversation happened. So for me, I just think you're giving Lane a little bit too much benefit of the doubt there, talking about his desperation and things like that, when he's basically shown you that he's nothing more than a pathological liar and a narcissist. So I just think it's very rich to just think that Lane is doing whatever he can to coach his guys, when the reality is, after he said he was leaving, they didn't want him to be there anyway.
I think the players were so sick of the circus and getting asked about it 24/7. And to their credit and in their defense, I think they were looking at it like, hey, we're the ones going out in the field playing. Like, we're winning these games, and like, we are on the verge of having this great season and making the college football playoff. And all you guys want to talk about is is our jerk off coach going to leave or not? Like, that's a lot. And I think you saw the one celebration after they scored a touchdown last Saturday. What's the quarterback's name?
Trinidad Chambliss.
Chambliss kind of blew Lane off on the sideline. Like, I think you saw it. I think they were done with him. I think they knew internally as well that he was probably leaving. And they were like, all right, we got to do it ourselves, and rely on the guys that want to be here with us. So I give a lot of credit to the players. Old cliche, man. When somebody tells you who they are, listen. This is Lane Kiffin through and through. This is a zebra not changing his stripes. This is who he is. And again, I don't fault him for taking the LSU job. Just like Cottrell said, it's a better job. I don't fault him, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. And that is what Lane Kiffin still, at this, how freaking old he is, has not learned yet. You look at what he did at Tennessee, literally was flying back on a plane from a recruitment visit, took the freaking USC job, quit Tennessee at midnight, got off one plane, got on another, went to USC, signed there, got fired by Nick Saban of all people as the OC for Alabama because he was distracted and showed up for a game without a game plan because he was too busy taking care of his own stuff. I think people forget as well that he had to go to Florida Atlantic at one point because nobody wanted to touch him. Nobody wanted to touch him because of how he is and how he acts. This is another example. This guy's not going to change. He's an egomaniac. I know we keep saying that, but he is. And I legit applaud that locker room, the coaches that stayed, and I'm kind of pulling for Ole Miss now. I'm not gonna lie because obviously I don't have a horse in this race now, so I hope they win a game or two just to spite him. I really do, because that'll be the biggest FU ever. And I will tell you this. I can't imagine what a shit show it's going to be next year in Oxford when LSU comes back to play there. That is going to be absolute pandemonium. I don't. They might have to put him in bubble wrap. I don't know what they're going to do to him. When I found out that the LSU has to go play at Ole Miss next year, my God, that might be the can't miss game of the year next year already. I'm not even kidding. But
you guys want to go live show in Oxford,
bro?
Hey, I'm down. I'll wear my visor, my
Yeah.
duck visor.
You better not say you're a Lane Kiffin supporter. You'll get us all killed.
I'm getting you a Lane Kiffin shirt.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna wear a visor. Then I'm gonna wear an Ole Miss powder blue.
No, I'm getting you a
Blues
Lane
are
Kiffin.
sick.
Lane Kiffin specifically. It's just gonna say I'm with Lane.
Stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something clever. But before we move on to any other news, I got to shout out Tosh Iopoi. Congratulations, head coach of Cal. Then we got Will Stein, also now the head coach of Kentucky. Offensive and defensive coordinators getting the new head coaching jobs. I'm excited to see who we get as coaches next year. Both coaches staying on through the playoff. Is Hartline staying through the playoff for Ohio State too, right, Control?
Yep.
Yes.
Now,
So my big question for both of you.
Here I know exactly what you're going to ask, but ask it.
Gotta be asked because it's a big deal. Do they end up poaching and taking anybody with them?
As far as players.
Yep. I would say staff too.
I think staff. I don't think so because I think with Hartline leaving, it's just going to be one domino falls and everybody just kind of moves up. I think everybody that's on staff now should be getting some sort of promotion outside of whoever's going to be the new OC. So somebody should be getting a new receiver spot. And then the guy whose job it was, previously before they were the receiver coach, like they get bumped up into that slot. So I think there's going to be a lot of promoting from within everywhere besides the actual OC position. As far as player wise.
But all those guys that don't get like the OC, he could be like, hey, you can come down here and be the OC.
See, a lot of the staff that Ohio State has are on the younger side. So I think it's possible. And of course, you potentially take that opportunity there. But I could see Hartline trying to get guys who have experience already. Like, for example, UNLV, Corey Dennis is UNLV's OC. And it's a small jump up, but USF is a jump up from UNLV. Like they have history together because he used to be on staff at Ohio State for a few years there. Like I think he could go down and be the OC there, or just there's been so many guys that have kind of come and gone through the O State program there, where I think he'll kind of have his pick of the litter. But I think player wise though, you're gonna have a lot of course receivers who, Ohio State really only runs 4 deep at the receiver position, and the receiver room is pretty deep there. And especially signing 2 receivers already, maybe if Chris Henry Jr. comes, like that's going to be an even more crowded receiver room. So I do think you can see, some of those players ultimately go down and try and play for Brian Hartline there. Hell, maybe even our backup quarterback in Lincoln Keenholz is like, hey, I want to be a starter. I know what Hartline likes to run. I can run his system. Maybe he'll give me a shot down there. So I do think some players will go down, but with USF just kind of being a program that it's not a Power 5 program there, I don't think we're going to lose anybody major or any key contributors from the current team, but I can definitely see players following them down there.
So Alex,
same question.
Same question, but I think your situation is a little different because I think it depends on what Dante Moore does.
Oh no, I already know that Austin Novosad is going to go to Kentucky with Will Stein, and I also bet I would put money that Mekhi Hughes goes to Kentucky next year also from Oregon. As far as Tosh Uapoy taking any of the defensive players down to Cal, I don't think that any of the defensive players would leave the program, and obviously him leaving didn't impact any of our signings on National Signing Day. So I don't think he's going to have any impact as far as player-wise. But I also know that Will Stein, Kentucky's already announced that they're hiring, what's his name, Joe Sloan as their offensive coordinator and play caller. Some people know him as the quarterback coach at LSU who coached Jaden Daniels. That's what kind of he's known for most recently. He's already been announced as the offensive coordinator at Kentucky. So I don't think either of them are taking any staff with them. If they are, it's probably lower level staff. And the only one that I could see really taking any players of note of the merit would be Will Stein. And like I said, I think Austin Novosad is going to be the starting quarterback there next year. And then Mekhi Hughes is not happy, not playing in Oregon redshirt this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up at Kentucky as well, because he's definitely a higher quality quarterback that deserves to be in a power conference. That's all we got.
Alex,
So
do you name wise? I know Chip Kelly is one that we share interest in for what we think. Anybody else OC wise who you're thinking of, or even DC that you've had in the most recent past, or that has relationships with Dan Lanning that you've kind of been hearing floating around there, or it's still too early?
Nothing yet, because both coaches are staying on to coach the college football playoff, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not a huge fan of keeping the coaches on staff because, one, being a college head coach is much different than an NFL head coach. The recruiting trail, getting everything set, it's just a totally different animal. I feel like college football is way more chaotic than the NFL is. And so having to, one, plan and execute your plan for your Kentucky Wildcats in Will Stein's case, and then also game plan for Tulane or game plan for Ohio State in the semifinals or whatever it may be. I feel like he's not going to be, if he's not 100% focused on the offense, I don't want him there. I don't want him. Like he said it himself. He's splitting time. I don't like the fact that he's splitting time. I want 100% of your attention. Set up your assistant coaches, have them handle stuff while you're focused on the college football playoff. And then after the college football playoff, take over your program. I know you can't really do that, but that's what I would like to happen. I hate that our coaches, especially our offensive and defensive coordinators, are focused on other jobs that won't impact. I think that will impact our season with their focus. So I'm kind of tossed up about it.
Well, I'll tell you this. As somebody who lost both their OC and DC last year, I know it's worked out for us so far this year. Obviously, we're undefeated right now. I will say that as great as you may think that they are, there's a possibility that you hire even better coordinators there. There's also a possibility that it gets worse before it gets better. But I would say what you guys are building there, not losing recruits, that is how programs get bigger than who's actually coaching. So, like, for example, I understand with Chris Henry, he has that relationship with Hartline. With Ohio State, I get it. Hartline's the man. Like, I won't say anything bad about Hartline. There's going to be good receivers that come after Hartline's gone because Ohio State's built that program. So I think with Oregon, you guys are building that now, and it's, being seen with your recruiting classes and stuff. So even if, you don't get necessarily the name that you're thinking, because at the time I thought Patricia was a bad hire. At the time, I didn't want Chip Kelly last year. So I would say just look at it like the program and what Dan Lanning is building, maybe even bigger than necessarily who's the name on the line next to OC or DC.
Yeah, I think Chip Kelly's coming back next year. That's my last thought. Bill, go.
I was just gonna say, when you guys hired Matt Patricia, I was like, nah, that could go either way. I also think he's had the benefit of coaching, player wise. I think the best defense in the country. And I also think you guys got lucky with Hartline. Not lucky in that you retained him, but he'd been there for so long. I think it was just a really easy progression for him to step into that role. And I'm not saying Oregon doesn't have anybody like that. I'm just saying I think you guys were in a very fortunate situation to have Heartline sitting there in the wings already as it was. Most schools don't have that. So, and again, I'm not as familiar with Ohio State's or Oregon's coaching staff that deep, as I'm with Ohio State's, but um, it's usually a little bit more. It's a little bit tougher, a little bit more growing pains to fill those spots usually. But I also think Dan Lanning's gonna have a lot of pool. He'll probably be able to snag somebody from somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, the only guy I want is Phil Parker, but there's no way he's leaving Iowa. There's no way he's leaving Iowa at all.
I would leave Iowa in a heartbeat.
He's been there for like 15 years, though.
It's a good Oregon. All right, well, you know what? He's not getting it done in Iowa, so.
I mean, defensive as the defensive coordinator he is, but that's just I don't think he's going nowhere. Kirk Ferentz just picked up for another year. What is that year, like 27 in Iowa or something like that?
Well, Jim Knowles be looking for a job, and as much as it sucks the first couple years, he is a good DC. So, I mean, that could be a hot name on the table potentially for you guys. I think he burned his bridge at Ohio State, but
Probably.
I think that could be a something that Dan Lanning looks at like, hey, we want to be the best. Let's go hire some of the best out there.
See, for me, I just want us to find those coordinators that are cool with being coordinators for long periods of time. I hate cycling through offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators every 2-3 years, changing the system, all this and that.
I got a news flash for you.
When
your program is consistently good, that's what's going to happen. So get used to it.
I know. But hey, that's what we got for the coaching carousel. Obviously, there's a lot of hires, not too many other big names kind of moved around. But let's just jump into this top 25. Obviously, this is the last college football playoff ranking before all the conference championship games tonight and this weekend. Let's take a quick look at the top 25. Not a lot of movement as far as Ohio State and Indiana go. Georgia number 3, Texas Tech at top 4. It would have a first round bye. Oregon dismantling Washington jumps up to number 5. Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama jumping, Notre Dame rounding out the top 10. BYU and Miami first teams out. What are our reactions to this as we look at this? What do we expect to happen?
So I know Bill's going to touch on the Notre Dame situation there. One thing I just want to say here real quick is I feel like what might get glossed over is we had this conversation last week about if Texas A&M lost, how far they would slide, and they went all the way down there to 7. And so with that said, Oregon has the benefit, and Alex, you should be happy. I know you said you want the first round. You want the first round game at home against the 12th seed, but you're in a spot where if Alabama goes out and wins the SEC championship game, Oregon's going to get a first round bye. And I think that is something.
Or if BYU wins.
Yeah, or if BYU
I got two
wins.
chances. I got 2 chances at this.
That's another one. I don't really see that one happening, but you do have 2 chances of that happening there. So, I mean, I think that part of it is there's these 5 one-loss teams like in that mix there. It should be 6. I mean, BYU has 1 loss and they're in a power conference, but, alas, that's neither here nor there. But you got 5 schools that have 1 loss right now, and there's going to be some tussling there for those last 2 spots. I think at this point in time, Indiana, Ohio State, no matter what happens in that game, I think both of those schools should have locked up a first round bye there, whether it be, 2, 3, 4 seed, whatever the case may be. I think both of those schools should be locked in there, but right behind them, I think that part is very interesting before, Bill goes into that next area, which is been the debate that we've had on this show for like the last month.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I think minus seeding, I think from, I would even say 9 up right now, it's right. So, I mean, I don't really have a gripe with any of those teams. I guess we could argue a little bit, maybe. I thought A&M falling to 7th was a lot, but at the same time, I get it too. So, again, I don't think the top 9 are wrong. I told you I thought Alabama was going to get credited for playing Auburn while Notre Dame finished the season with 2 crappy teams, and they passed them. And Alabama was not impressive by any means against Auburn, but I think who you play matters. And you're playing two teams with a combined 5 wins to finish the season, with no conference championship game in the future. I would not feel confident if you're Notre Dame right now. I wouldn't. And I've said this for the last couple of weeks. I think they're setting it up for it to happen. So I really do. I think the committee's taking a lot of heat, and I think they were playing the long game all along here. Because if you figure BYU loses and Alabama loses, Miami and Notre Dame are going to be butted up right next to each other. And the way they've been ranking these teams, they've been putting them in groups 2 or 3 and ranking them and then putting them in accordingly. If you put those two teams next to each other now, and it's only those two for one spot, I don't know. I just don't know how they're going to put Notre Dame in. I really don't. And I think they're setting it up to give themselves an out with Miami. Now, don't get me wrong. BYU can go in, Alabama can go in, and then all hell breaks loose. But I think they kind of gave themselves an out here with Miami. That if everything goes chalk, they're going to be butted up against next to each other, and you're going to have to compare them. And again, I said this was going to happen. They are one spot away from each other in both strength of schedule, strength of record. By FPI and every analytic, Notre Dame's best win is Miami's 4th best win. Miami won head-to-head, obviously. And their common opponents. Miami beat 3 of the 4 of their common opponents by more points. I don't think Notre Dame's going to have a leg to stand on come Sunday night. I really don't. And again, a lot can happen between now and then. Don't get me wrong. Again, BYU, could adjust and playing on a neutral field. That could be a completely different game. And Alabama seems to have Georgia's number. So, by any means, if either one of those wins, then it gets really hard. But you got Texas sitting there. I don't know how Texas gets in. I don't. I don't think Texas should get in. I've been on record and adamant about that. I don't see a way in for them. I really don't. That Florida loss has to matter. And if Alabama loses, I don't know if you would put Alabama in front of them and behind them. The Vanderbilt, the lack of respect for Vanderbilt, kind of sucks if I'm being honest. They are the only team to win 5 straight games, 3 of which were ranked opponents, and they haven't moved. I don't get that. I need somebody to explain that to me. And I need somebody to explain to me how you put when you look at it that way, how you still put a 3-loss Texas team in front of a 2-loss Vanderbilt team. And if you're going to argue that Texas played this great SEC schedule, cool. So did Vanderbilt. They're in the same conference.
I think the part that confuses me is the part that we always get hung up on, and that's head-to-head. I just wish I understood when it mattered and when it doesn't matter.
You and everybody else, brother.
Vanderbilt is a 2-loss team that played a solid SEC schedule, but they lost to Texas, and they're sitting at 14. But Texas is ahead of them because they beat them head-to-head, but they have 3 losses. But I'm looking at it like, well, if that's the case, then Texas and Oklahoma played too, and Oklahoma has 2 losses and Texas has 3 losses, but Texas beat them head-to-head. So why aren't they closer together? Or, the argument that I'm not even going to get into it, but Notre Dame, Miami, they played head-to-head, and that clearly doesn't matter here. So I just wish I understood when head-to-head mattered versus, who you lost to or who you beat. Because, of course, it's all factored in, but there's just no consistency with it. That's the part that's just – I just wish I had some sort of understanding there with that. Alex, I know you're always on the committee side with this. Help me understand how Texas –
plain and simple.
Head of Andy, behind Oklahoma.
It's all about what have you done for me lately. And is that how it should? Bill, don't roll your eyes. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just telling you how it is. Okay, I'm explaining to you how it is and how it will be until we make a rapid change. Texas is ahead of Vanderbilt right now because lately Texas has been playing fantastic football. They've been playing their best football of the season, including beating previously undefeated Texas A&M. Okay, so that puts their best win better than Vanderbilt's best win. So that's why a lot of people are saying that's why they put Notre Dame in front of Miami. Miami has rocked off what? Not Miami. Notre Dame has rocked off what? 10 wins in a row. Well, Miami has lost 2 ACC games within the last 6 weeks. So I totally agree where the confusion is, why head-to-head should matter. But it's been 10 weeks since they've played, and as the season goes on, they're judging it by who's the better team right now. And right now, I would say Notre Dame is the better team than Miami. And that's why they're ranked ahead of Miami. I get the head-to-head. I get it. But that was also 3 months ago. These teams are not the same teams that they were 3 months ago. And right now, as we're sitting here, Notre Dame is a better team than Miami. So that's why Notre Dame is ahead of them.
Well, what about Texas and Vanderbilt, though? Again,
right now, it's what you've done for me lately. Texas just beat the number 3 previously undefeated Texas A&M Aggies.
And Vanderbilt just beat a ranked Tennessee team.
Right. What was Tennessee ranked? 20th?
On the road. Beat the shit out of them.
What was it, 22nd? They were 22nd.
They're like 18, 19. Like, yeah,
okay.
They were
third ranked, beating a third-ranked team, beating a 19th ranked team. I don't understand the disrespect for Vanderbilt either. Not moving for 5 weeks when you beat 3 ranked opponents. That's unexcusable. I'm with you on that, Bill. I need in writing why they did not move at all. But I'm telling you why Texas is ahead of Vanderbilt.
But
they have the best. Hold on. They have the best win out of the 2, and they're not holding the Ohio State loss against Texas.
Okay,
here we go.
So,
bro, that's what's going on right now is teams are going to start unscheduling their out of conference tough opponent matches.
I don't need anybody to not hold Ohio State. The Ohio State game is not the issue with Texas.
I get it.
Nobody cares that they lost to them. Nobody.
I know your issue is Florida. I absolutely get it. I totally understand. But if Texas, and the argument that we're getting from Sarkisian mostly is that if they don't play Ohio State, right, they play Western Michigan. Let's just say, just to throw out a random ass team, and that's the team that popped in my head. I don't know why, but they play them instead. They're an 11-2, 10-2 team, whatever it would be, and they are in the playoff.
So here's
even
the thing
with the loss to Florida.
But they would still. But see, that's where I don't. That's where I don't agree because they would still have the worst loss out of all these 2-loss teams.
But Alabama has the worst loss. Florida State is a worse team.
No, it's not.
Not than Florida.
Not than Florida. Florida's 3 wins, bro.
Didn't
3.
Florida just beat Florida State this last weekend?
They did this past weekend.
Yes, they did.
So
Florida is better than Florida State.
Florida State has still
Florida State. Let's talk about that then. Why is Alabama in the 9 hole with the loss to a Florida State team that's not even bowl eligible? Let's have that conversation.
We could have that conversation.
We could, but Alabama also has
easy.
five ranked wins too. So like I'm
okay. How many ranked wins does Texas have?
It's a good question.
I think it's 4.
They have 4 or 5.
4. Yeah, exactly.
But
so that's why how many does Vanderbilt have?
This is what I was going to say.
Probably 4.
As far as Vanderbilt and Texas go, 1, I personally saw Texas go to overtime to Kentucky. I saw them go to overtime with Mississippi State. I saw them lose to Florida. I saw them have a tough time with UTEP. UTEP has 3 wins this season. I saw that game go into the 4th quarter as a 1-possession football game. And there's nothing in me that just can say, oh, well, if they have Western Kentucky week 1 instead, that it's a guaranteed win. Like, I get it. They probably win the football game, but to just act like this Texas team was, stacked all these odds against them, and they played Ohio State and they played them tough and they almost, win the football game. Texas played bad football for a month and a half. And if we're being honest with ourselves, like, I can't just pencil in a win there for them no matter what. But on the flip side of that, though, I really wanted to get into, let's forget about Texas for a moment. Looking at Miami and Vanderbilt, you talk about Vanderbilt's losses. Their losses are to Texas and to Alabama. and Miami's losses are to SMU and Louisville. So I have a tough time understanding, is it who you lose to? Is it who you beat? Is it head to head? Like, that's nothing of this 9 to 14 range makes sense to me.
Well, let's be honest for a second here about Vanderbilt's wins. Vanderbilt has 4 ranked wins, and all 4 of those teams are not ranked any longer. Let's just have that conversation also. So they do have 4 ranked wins.
Teams are not
None
ranked?
of them are ranked.
How many teams are not ranked because they knocked them out of the rankings?
Missouri's not ranked right now, and they're only not ranked because their starting quarterback got hurt at the end of the year. So, like, at that time, they were playing, like, Bo played in that game.
Yeah. LSU obviously trash team. Yep. They beat them by 7. Missouri, they beat them by 7. We got, let me see, who else did they beat that was ranked? It was earlier.
Tennessee.
Oh, South Carolina, trash. And yeah, Tennessee, not even ranked. So their ranked wins are nobodies.
I'm just going to put water on the notion about, you said it's about how you finish in Texas's last 5 or 6 weeks. They beat A&M, they beat Arkansas, got their asses kicked by Georgia, right. Beat Vanderbilt by 3, went to overtime against Mississippi State, went to overtime against Kentucky. That's not earth-shatteringly good to me. That's not an eye test of they look dominant. Like, so let's get rid of that narrative.
That's why they're not in the playoffs.
For what it's worth, Texas has 2 ranked wins this season.
Yes, but one of them is the best win in the country right now.
I mean, is that the best?
Against A&M, a 10-point win against undefeated number 3 team. Yeah,
I would
best
say
win in the country at this moment.
I would say
it's hard to argue it.
Indiana's win at Oregon, 10-point win. I would argue that's up there as far as best.
That's probably a close second. I wouldn't argue that.
I mean, let's not act like Texas wasn't at home during that game. Let's not act like it wasn't a rivalry game. Like, I think that all of that kind of factors into it. It's, to me, I get it. A&M, I mean, A&M had been begging. We don't want to have the conversation, but A&M had been begging to get beat for a month. And I said it, and that was why I picked Texas last week on the show. So, I mean, I think how you're playing now, of course, it matters. But, again, I think we're looking at another team in BYU right now who they're only lost to Texas Tech. They're only lost to Texas Tech. They've beaten everybody else they've seen so far. They're starting a true freshman at quarterback. They've been dominating everybody. They have a win over Utah, who's in the top 25 right now. And we're talking about them behind 2 lost Oklahoma, 2 lost Alabama, 2 lost Notre Dame. But somehow they're ahead of 2 lost Miami. Like, I just don't know where the lines get drawn in the sand here, where one thing matters, but another thing doesn't. Like, I just want some consistency. If it was all across the board where you had Miami at 10, Notre Dame right there at 11, you had Texas in front of Vandy, whatever the case may be, and you had BYU behind all of them, I wouldn't agree with it, but at least I can understand it because I can say, hey, these teams all have 2 losses, but they're valuing who they beat, when it happened, yada, yada, yada. But that's not the case here. There's just so much inconsistency everywhere, pretty much from 8 to 14.
So I'm gonna bring up the last one. I need somebody to explain to me how Notre Dame's ahead of BYU.
Just disrespect, really. I mean, it's plain and simple. They look at, for example, SEC team is a 2-loss SEC team. Is in the committee's eyes is a 1-loss team. In a Big Ten, a 2-loss team is a 2-loss team.
Okay.
And the
Notre Dame doesn't belong to either one of those conferences.
No, you're right. But for some reason, they continue to get the benefit. Every metric, BYU is ahead of Notre Dame. Every single one. But we said also at the beginning of the season, though, when Notre Dame started 0-2, we said that you guys were like, "Oh, their season's over." I said, "Just watch." I knew Notre Dame was going to get back into this. Like, the committee, for some reason, loves the Notre Dame brand. And that shouldn't count for anything, but that's what it is.
But if you're looking at it now, BYU only has 1 loss. It's on the road, and it's a better loss than either one of Notre Dame's losses. They have a better record against the top 25. They have 1 more win against the top 25. And they have a better strength of record and a better strength of schedule. How are they behind Notre Dame?
The only thing I don't agree with is that BYU had a better loss. They got boat raced by Texas Tech. Like, there's a reason Texas Tech is a 13-point favorite in the game tomorrow. Like, they got boat raced.
It's only one loss, though, man. It's on the road. Notre Dame was a favorite. Notre Dame was a favorite. Notre Dame was a favorite in both their games and lost both of them. Notre Dame lost at home.
I'll say this, though. BYU has a chance to essentially tell the committee, like, hey, there's nothing you can do about it. We're going to the college football playoff. If they beat Texas Tech, because Texas Tech, I think at this point, should be submitted in no matter what happens in that game. If BYU gets in, they're going to still a bid, and then you're still going to have either the ACC, the Sun Belt, or the American champions all make the playoff. And so if that happens, Notre Dame is all but gone anyway. So I think BYU still has a shot, and maybe this is the committee's way of just saying, hey, if BYU wants to be in, they have to earn it. I don't agree with it, and I think anyway, even if BYU was ahead of Notre Dame, if they lost this upcoming weekend, they would fall out anyway. But again, I'm not here to argue what would happen or even what should happen there. I'm just basing it off of what I see right now, and I just don't.
But you're 100% right. You're 100% right, and that's the problem. It's not the committee's job to say, we'll give you a shot to get up in there. If you've earned it, that's where they should be. And to your point, if they go play Texas Tech tomorrow and get their asses kicked again and fall out, that's okay then. That's where they deserve to be, because that's what happened on the field. This committee needs to stop playing the what-if game. The what-if, you know what? Because, again, it goes no further than Notre Dame, Miami. You don't have to wonder what would happen because it already happened. Don't give me the imaginary, well, if they play now, the result might be different. I don't need to hear that. It already happened. They won. You can't discredit Miami for winning a football game because you think or imagine the outcome if they played right now might be different. We have no idea. We have no idea what would happen. And I'll be completely honest with you. Miami's looked better the last month than Notre Dame has because Notre Dame hasn't played anybody. They should beat Stanford by 22 because Stanford stinks. They should beat Cal by 20 because they suck. That's why they got bumped down last week, because they're not playing anybody. And I told you that was going to happen. And deservedly so, it should have happened. So I'm tired of hearing the Notre Dame, they got 2 losses, they have one okay win, and then the royalty and they deserve a spot. They haven't beat anybody. They have one decent win. The common opponents between Miami and Notre Dame, out of the 4 of them, Miami beat 3 of them by more points. And they beat them head-to-head. So don't, like I said on Wednesday, if somebody wants to come out of the committee and just have the balls to say it and be like, we don't want to not have Notre Dame in the playoff because of the brand, because of the ratings we know we'll get if they're on TV, you know what? I'll hate it and I'll call it for the bullshit it is, but I'll at least respect it for somebody on that committee being honest. Because there is no credible argument you can have at this point where we sit right now tonight on Friday that Miami should be behind Notre Dame. There is none. Literally none. You can't even give me a credible point why they should be ahead of BYU. And again, if BYU goes out tomorrow and loses, everybody like, oh, well, see, that's why BYU should be there. Okay. I'll still argue their losses are better than Notre Dame's, and they still have a better win.
Okay, let's take a quick look at what the
I'm tired of making sense.
Let's take a quick look at what the playoffs
I'm exhausted.
Like currently. Obviously, the 11th and 12th seed are still up for grabs. Virginia is the highest ranked ACC team. If they win the ACC championship, they'll obviously slide into the 11th spot. And then the 12th spot, really, I think it comes down to 3 teams. That's James Madison, North Texas, and Tulane. So, but I like this. I like it, man. Give me a home playoff game and then give me Texas Tech. I'll happily take that road to the semifinal. Let's go.
I just want to know what's going to happen if Notre Dame has to go down to College Station and they get worked again. And then what is the excuse going to be?
That's crazy about the rematch. Notre Dame, Texas A&M first round. I want
it. And I hope they get fucking boat raced I really do. Because then I'll be like, okay, cool. Now can we stop being like, oh, we good losses. We should be in.
What if they win that game, Bill?
So here's the thing, though, Bill. Like, I'm with you, and I'm tired of the Notre Dame bias or whatever. I don't even know if it's bias, whatever the hell it is. I'm tired of it.
It's bias. It's bias.
But I actually kind of like Notre Dame. Like Marcus Freeman's doing everything right at the program.
I like Marcus Freeman.
Got away from Brian Kelly. So like it sucks for me to root against them, but I'm with you in the point of
I get it.
All right, A&M beat them again, and
it's not his fault. It's his job to coach that team. I get it. And again, I'm with you. Even though he's an Ohio State guy, and now he coaches at Notre Dame, which are like my two worst rivals ever. I like Marcus Freeman. I think he's a great young coach. And to your point, I think he's a great dude. He's done everything right. Applaud the guy, love him. I would hire him in a heartbeat. I don't want to see him win though. For this shit's got to be put to bed. I can't take it anymore. It's a travesty. It needs to be done because
Alex,
if they go down.
Could you imagine a Notre Dame Indiana game like that? That would just set Bill's whole
you mean like last year?
Head on fire. Like I'm just saying,
last year,
two teams that Bill absolutely hates. I mean, he hasn't been hard on Indiana this year, but I'm just saying.
I don't know. See, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. That's a miss. You're doing Gene stuff. That's a mischaracterization right there. I've never ever said I hate Indiana. I said they were fool's gold last year. I said they didn't play anybody, and then what happened? They got in the playoff and they got smoked. This year, they can do my bidding for me because if somehow Notre Dame beats A&M, they'll go to Indiana, and I hope Indiana and Kurt Signetti, who I like, lays the absolute wood to Notre Dame. And that would be a wild game because I don't even know if a lot of people even know where Notre Dame is, but it's in Indiana. But that would be a wild rivalry game. That would be crazy. Go ahead, Alex. What were you going to say?
Oh, no. I mean, they played last year in the college ball playoff. Let's not forget. Notre Dame just.
Like I said, what's going to happen.
But no, I'm excited for this. I think
I bet you are 5 seed with whatever layup you're getting up there in Eugene, Oregon.
Here's the thing, though. So many things are going to change on this. Because I guarantee Georgia or Texas Tech, one of them is going to lose. Oregon's going to jump up. Okay, it's going to jump up to possibly a first-round bye. And then if Georgia beats
Stop
Bama,
hating on the Christians, Cutro.
If Georgia beats Bama, Bama could be knocked out of the playoff entirely.
They should
be. They would drop 2 spots. But again, how do you punish a team for making a conference championship game? That's a whole nother topic that's going to come up.
So my answer would be by losing football games. Like I
oh God, no, thank you. Go.
I hate this notion that you make it to your conference championship game, you shouldn't be punished for it. I get it. Making it to a conference championship is 100% hard. But that is why we play the game of football. Like before this whole thing of the college football playoff being a thing, like teams will go into the season wanting to win a conference championship. It matters. Alex, you saw it last year. It was your first year in the Big Ten. And of course you went to win a national championship last year, but you went out, you went undefeated, and you won a Big Ten championship, and you had pride in doing so because it matters. So if you lose the football game, it's one of those things where, all right, like you didn't afford yourself the luxury during the regular season to lose in your championship game and it not matter. Because look at Texas Tech. If they lose, they're still going to be in the college football playoff. Look at Ohio State. If they lose, they're still going to be in the college football playoff. Same thing with Georgia. Same thing with Indiana. So it's about what you also did in the regular season. And it's not just, how can you give someone a benefit out of being idle? I think Notre Dame is the only outlier who I don't feel for because they're not in a conference. Like they shouldn't be rewarded for someone else losing. So with that being the case, I can hear that argument. But with everybody else, if you took care of business during the regular season, it wouldn't matter what you're doing in the conference championship game because there's so many examples of teams that are playing this weekend that it doesn't matter if they win or lose. They're still going to make the playoff.
I'm going to be consistent here, Alex. This goes back to the same thing with Texas. Don't lose week 1 to Florida State because then you have the buffer. And to Cottrell's point, you don't have to worry about this then. Making your conference championship game should only matter when you're comparing like examples. So if the last spot was up against another 3-loss team that didn't make their conference championship game, okay, that's where Alabama gets rewarded for at least making it. But that's not going to be the case here. So, again, just like I've been hard on Texas, you can't be Alabama, and if you lose to Georgia, whine and cry and say, well, we got here. Cool. You shouldn't have lost to a 5-win team in Florida State week 1. That took your security blanket away. You got to play the games. And again, it's to Cottrell's point. It's why we play them. If not, we could just sit here and sim this and make it a video game. Like, what happens on the field has to matter. It has to matter. It has to count. They don't lose to Florida State. They're going in tomorrow night and not a worry in the world because a 1-loss Alabama team, even if they lose to Georgia, is in this playoff. There's no way they miss it. But they don't have that buffer because they got their asses kicked week 1 by a bad football team. And it's the same guy. It's literally the same thing with Texas, except they lost to the big game at the beginning of the year. Texas did. Ohio State just turned out to be exactly who we thought they were. Florida State didn't. If Florida State was sitting in here somewhere and they were 12-1, that would be a different story, different conversation. But they're not. Just like Texas. If Florida was 8-4 and not 4 and whatever the hell they are, it's a different conversation. But that's not reality. It's not where we are. Like, sorry, like, it's where we are. Don't lose football games you shouldn't lose. It's that simple.
Well, any other comments on the college football playoff bracket before we get into? Obviously, we have 2 games tonight and then the big 4 games tomorrow. Before we jump into previewing these next 6 conference championship games, any college football playoff bracket tidbits to throw out?
I would say this. I feel like the top half of the bracket's tougher.
Oh yeah.
Sign me up for Bama or Oklahoma. Either one.
You're fine. You're fine there, but like I'm looking at more like Oregon is either Oregon and Texas Tech is either going to play each other, and then most likely you have to turn around and play Ohio State. Like that's a rough road to get out of there.
Well, you got to think though. To Alex's point, some of this stuff will.
It's going to change. It's going to change.
Ohio
I know.
State, Indiana probably won't be 1-2 moving forward there. So something there is going to.
The only way that they stay 1-2 is if Texas Tech and Georgia, Texas Tech and Georgia both lose. I think it's going to be 1-3. If Georgia wins, for example, I think it goes Ohio State, Georgia, Indiana, or Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State.
Is that a little foreshadowing? You picking Ohio State to win the Big Ten?
No. I just gave both examples. I said or Indiana, Georgia. I said both.
Okay. I was just asking.
But no, it's crazy because Oregon could become ranked as high as 3rd if Tech and Georgia were to somehow go out and lose. I think Oregon jumps both of them to that 3rd hole, and then you got a 1, 2, 3 Big Ten, and that's pretty crazy because obviously Oregon can't jump Indiana, right? So I think it's going to be
in general, though. I mean, any scenario where you have 3 Big Tens, 3 Big Ten schools having a bye, I think that's nuts.
Yeah.
I think there's. That'd be tough. I think it would depend on how the games go. I honestly don't think Indiana falls further than 4. I don't think there's any way they're not in the top 4.
I don't know.
I think it's 1 and 3.
Georgia's the one. Yeah, Georgia's the one I'm looking at. Like, if they lose to Bama, I 100% think Oregon would hop up to the 4 line and Tech would slide to 3. Then you got 3 Big Ten schools, and your 3 out of the 4 are taking care of the first round buys there, which Alex, it sounds like, doesn't want. I will gladly take that first round bye, get healthy after the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, but you have the Big Ten championship game. If we had no Big Ten championship game and then 2 weeks, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
You're right.
I'm just saying. That's crazy.
As a school that's had a ton of injuries this year in Oregon, I'm just saying that there's 2 sides of the coin there for you.
I get it. And I want Evan Stewart back more than you know. But hey, let's get into some previews because these games that are going on tonight, as soon as we're off the air, are going to matter for the college football playoff. It's going to set the table for the rest of the weekend. And that's obviously we have Troy versus James Madison. We got North Texas versus Tulane. What are we thinking about these games? Who do we have as far as the front runners go? Does James Madison have a chance to jump North Texas or Tulane? Or is it really going to come down to North Texas and Tulane for that last spot?
I mean,
Well,
James Madison, yeah. I mean, they need help, but I mean, I don't. I think they're going to boat race Troy in a couple hours. I mean, I think they're going to do their
Troy.
stop. I think they're going to be a great movie though. I think they're going to. I think they're going to take care of business and do everything they can to get in. And then they're gonna pray for help. Which is I think where they're at. They're going to become. I guess they become the biggest. They become really big Duke fans. Then I guess right. That's how that has to work out for them.
yep.
Essentially.
Yeah, I don't listen. I know their coach is staying to coach the game. Even though he took another job. Interesting hire for them as well, which I think is a good hire, Billy Napier. But we talk about that later. I would love to see James Madison in. I would. I just don't know if we're going to get it. Because I think the winner of the other game is definitely in. I think James Madison's been done a little bit of disservice. Who was their loss to?
Louisville, week 2.
Was it close?
28-14.
I mean, it's a game. I would love them to get in. I just know. I know this. It's all going to come down to the Duke Virginia game. I mean, they have no shot otherwise because they're not going to jump either one of these other two teams. I doubt.
They would have to absolutely dismantle Troy. Like we're talking like probably 35 points.
I mean, they're 24-point favorites.
I know, that's true. But I would think that they still couldn't jump North Texas or Tulane. Like you would have to have Tulane win and Drake Retzlaff goes down. I'm not saying I want that to happen, by the way. I'm not going to wood and everything, so that doesn't happen. But I feel like it would have to be some sort of injury that, for example, that kept Florida State out of the college football playoff a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? Like if Jake Retzlaff gets hurt, is that enough to hold Tulane out? Because losing quarterback, that's a huge issue for a team. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could happen that needs to happen. Obviously, Duke winning.
I think that's a great point. Duke winning, of course, would change all of that anyway. Because
right.
I mean, how crazy does it get though if Duke wins? Because then I look at it like you're kind of jokingly saying Troy, but Troy wins tonight. Well, tomorrow night, and then no, the game is tonight. If Troy wins tonight and then Duke wins on Saturday, like what does it look like then? Would Duke potentially make the playoff as a 5-loss conference champion? Like how chaotic does that get? Do they put Troy in? Do they look at some of these other conferences? Like what?
Well, that's the thing, Troy. You said that it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions. Yep. I don't think Duke could jump James Madison, Tulane, or North Texas. Like he would have to jump one of them.
I'm saying
unranked to like.
I'm 20? Saying if James Madison loses, like James Madison losing, because no matter what, North Texas or Tulane is going to be in. Like one of them are going to be in, barring something crazy. But if James Madison loses tonight, how crazy does that last spot in the playoff get?
It'll also be crazy to think about this. Tulane wins. Darian Mensah left Tulane to go to Duke to have a better chance of getting into the playoff. If he actually pulls off a win there, he gets his old team into the playoff. It's just funny to me, like how everything's working out. It's fun. And then if Jake Retzlaff makes the college football playoff and BYU doesn't, it's just the storylines that are going to be solved this weekend are crazy. We're talking like soap opera epic.
I'm looking at, does UNLV sneak into the playoff if Duke wins and Troy wins? Like,
well, they play Boise State, UNLV? Is that Mountain West?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm cool with UNLV sneaking in. I was talking about UNLV earlier this year. Actually, I think in my preseason college football bracket, I had UNLV in. If I remember correctly. I think I did. So I'm actually, let's go UNLV, running Rebels. All right. See, Ole Miss Rebels, UNLV running Rebels. I'm cheering for the Rebels. All right. But no, there's just so many different scenarios that can play off for this. It's just, I'm excited for it. But let's do a quick little pick'em action. Obviously, the bread and butter of the weekend is next that we're going to talk about. But who do you guys have winning this weekend? Who do you think ultimately solidifies their way to the college football playoff?
Who's going?
I mean, I'll go quick here. I like James Madison to win. I think they're a better football team, and I think just kind of knowing what's at stake here, I think they are going to take care of business. Like I said, they haven't lost since week 2 of the college football season there. So I do think they will take care of business against Troy. And then in that last game there, I think that has the potential to be game of the weekend. Of course, not as far as like star power and things like that go. I mean, you're going to see more in the Big Ten SEC championship game there. But as far as like fireworks and two teams that are pretty evenly matched there, I think it's going to be, worth the price of admission there. But with that said, I do think Jake Retzlaff and company are going to have enough to get it done and, ultimately punch their ticket to the college football playoff.
I've already said what I thought of the James Madison game with Troy. That's a huge mismatch. I think as long as James Madison doesn't come out and get super, tight under the lights and realize what they're playing for, they just go out there and do their job. I think they destroy Troy handily. If they gotta try to go for bonus points and really run up to score, I think that's what they got to do. So I like James Madison big. I'm gonna go the other way than Cottrell on this one though. I like Jake Retzlaff, obviously. I like the whole story. You're in college, you got to bang it out sometimes. But
I like the whole story. That's great.
Listen, college kid, you got stuff to do.
Hey, I love it too. Bro. I'm just saying the way you said it was great.
I love North Texas's offense though, and I've seen Tulane play a couple times this year, and their defense is at times can disappear is not the right word. So. I don't know if that's going to happen later tonight, but I'm going to go with North Texas. Love the running game. I think they control the clock a little bit, keep Retzlaff off the field a little bit. I'm going to go with North Texas. I don't think it's an upset. I actually think they're favored. But I will.
They are by 2.5.
2.5. I'll go with North Texas.
Yeah, for me, I really want to see Jake Retzlaff make it to the playoff and kind of be like, haha, BYU, I don't need you. Because you're right, it is a great story. It's hilarious. But North Texas, man, their offense with Drew, what's his name? Drew Mestemaker at quarterback. He has 4 interceptions on the season. Dude is a fantastic quarterback. I really like seeing him.
His story is wild, by the way.
Is it really?
He's a walk-on. Never started a game before he got to college.
That's this guy.
Yes, that's him.
I read about him at the beginning of the year, how North Texas was going. Yeah. That's this guy. Okay. North Texas, that's who I'm rooting for. I want to see this dude never played college football quarterback. First year takes him to the college football playoff. That's how you make a movie. Like that's a movie.
Facts.
I bet he's going to go to the Canadian Football League and then get picked up by some team and then win a Super Bowl. This kid is the future. All right, I'm cheering for North Texas to make a name for themselves against Tulane. No, it's going to be a great game, but I think North Texas. Some
people make Rudy a movie. I think Drew's got it written all over. 25 years from now, you're going to see a Drew movie where he's just throwing footballs in the trash cans outside, and next thing you know, he's in the college football playoff playing Oregon in Eugene.
Here's my honest take on this, though. I do think North Texas wins. The reason I say that is anytime your quarterback is your team's leading rusher, which is what Jake Retzlaff is, that's never a good combination. Because if you can scheme up a right defense that slow that quarterback's running attack down, you make that team one-dimensional. And I think North Texas has the defense and the speed on defense to be able to do that. So I do think North Texas wins. I think it's a very close game. I think it's a great game. I think it comes down to the fourth quarter, but Drew Mestemaker, let's go, baby.
Let's go.
All right, enough with these Cinderellas.
Oh, whoa. See?
What? I said Cinderellas.
It's disrespectful. These teams have done what they needed to do to get in this position to have a chance. How dare you?
James Madison shouldn't even be a damn Cinderella. 11-1 right now. They should be in the position of if they win the football game on Saturday, tonight they're clinching a spot.
You dookies.
You got to remember it's tonight, Cottrell. All right, not Saturday. But
I keep forgetting. I'm so used to games all playing on Saturday.
See, that's what happens. You're a kid, you don't sleep, you don't know what freaking day it is.
I know what day
here
it
we
is. I'm just
are.
used to games all happening on Saturday. Important football games happening on Saturday. Yeah,
And these games are important, and they're happening Saturday. These are the bread and butter of the weekend. We're talking about them by game order. So it starts off at 9 a.m. tomorrow with this one right here. Bill, take it away.
Oh, it's
12
12
p.m.
Jesus
for your
Christ.
normal
It's
time zone.
9 a.m. for us West Coasters who have the best time zone for sports.
The Big 12 title. Where is this? Is it Dallas?
This is at AT&T Stadium.
That's what I
It is
figured.
already sold out, and if everybody shows up, this will be the most attended conference championship game in the history of college football.
Yeah, I guess it's probably the biggest stadium they can. Yeah, it makes sense. Number 11, BYU, looking for revenge against the number 4 ranked, year ahead of schedule, Texas Tech Red Raiders. Defense has been dominant all year. If you watch this game when they played, I would say about a month ago in Texas Tech at Lubbock, defense just dominated. BYU could not get their offense rolling. Ton of pressure. Had to throw the ball off schedule all the time. Just was a disaster for BYU. BYU, clearly my darlings from last year. I'm going to wish them well again in this one. I just don't know if we're going to see that, if BYU can make that big of a change to turn around that game. Was it 29-7, something like that?
Yeah, 29-7. And they only scored that 7 in the fourth quarter. So
yeah, and pretty much garbage time. So it was almost a shutout. I don't think we're going to see that drastic of a turnaround. I would love to see BYU win because, again, I think it just throws a giant wrench into the rankings. They'd have to put them in. Notre Dame can kiss their season goodbye at that point. And Texas Tech's still a great football team. That being said, I'm going to take Texas Tech, though. I think that defense, especially that defensive line, is just going to cause trouble, just like it did in the first game. I don't think BYU is going to run the game. I'm going to run the ball effectively for 4 quarters. I think Texas Tech is just way too much defensively. And then offensively, once they got the passing game going, BYU was just all out of sorts. So I'm going Red Raiders here.
Control.
I'm also going with the Red Raiders. I just feel like, I saw this game. I don't have to think about what this matchup would potentially look like. I got to see it, and Texas Tech absolutely dominated in that football game. I do think this game will be a little bit more competitive. We talked about Bear Bachmeier and that being his first true test against, a top 10 defense in the country at that time frame, and it definitely showed. BYU also struggled to run the ball in that first matchup there. So I do think having that game, on film and just kind of getting to game plan off of that, I do think you're able to make some adjustments to see if that game get a little bit closer here. But I just think Texas Tech is the better football team here. And, I think they are in a position where, I said this stat a couple weeks ago, but Texas Tech, with their starting quarterback playing, they are undefeated this season, and they've won every game by 20-plus points. The one game that they lost, Baron Morton did not play, and it really came down to the last possession, and they almost won that football game there as well. So I think Texas Tech is a really good football team, and while I think this game is closer, I think Texas Tech is still going to do enough to get the job done and secure that first round bye.
I mean, this is like I said, it's basically a home game for Texas Tech, as the game is in Texas. BYU, this is only their 3rd year in the Big 12 Conference. Last season, dang near made the Big 12 Championship. This year, they actually did. They locked up their coach of the future, and they're playing for their college football and their entire season's livelihood tomorrow against Texas Tech. That first matchup, Texas Tech dominated 29-7. They did not get anything on the ground going with LJ Martin. 10 carries, 35 yards, 0 success there. But we also got to remember that BYU turned the ball over 3 times, ending 3 promising drives that were on their way to leading to points. And as we all know, as an Oregon Duck fan, I know most of all, it's extremely hard to beat a team twice in the same season. So right with this one, I'm actually going to choose BYU, playing for their college football berth and playing for their season livelihood. I think BYU comes out, punches Texas Tech in the mouth. I think they're able to get the ground game going. Bear Bachmeier is going to limit turnovers. Like I said, they had 3 the first time they met. Texas Tech had none. BYU is going to be able to force a turnover or 2 tomorrow. BYU is not going to cause any. And I think that BYU is actually going to win this game, win the Big 12 championship, and it's going to cause some chaos in the college football playoff.
I mean, that definitely would cause chaos. I'm usually here for chaos. I think, though, I can't remember. When's the last time we've had true chaos? Like, we've had some seeds move, but, I mean, I think BYU moving could be. Yeah, that's true. But we kind of saw that one coming a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
true.
I think if BYU ultimately wins this football game, I truly don't know who that 10th team is that's going to get in. Like, whether it be Notre Dame or Miami or whoever the case may be.
Yeah, so I got BYU winning this game. So we've all gone, on this one?
Yeah.
We're up to next. Boom.
The SEC Championship. Mercedes-Benz Dome down in Atlanta, Georgia. As usual, just Atlanta or Georgia just keeps getting home games somehow. This is a big one. Again, this seems to me. I feel like if this was like a Nick Saban game, I feel like Alabama would win this game. That being said, Alabama has just absolutely struggled to run the football the last month. The Ty Simpson has been great and been gunning out wins. He's been doing it with Ryan Williams really not showing up. They can't find a way to get him the ball. And I'll say this, and I said it for the last couple of weeks. This is a Georgia team that is just kind of sneakily and steadily gotten better under the radar. Usually it's a Kirby Smart team that comes out and starts the season dominant and they just pummel people. First 5 or 6 weeks of the season, they were a little shaky. Last month, they played a lot of really good football. A couple really good wins. The defense has really stepped up. I think as long as Gunnar Stockton can have a decent game and they can run the ball and throw the ball a little bit against that Alabama defense, I think they win. Because I think Georgia's defense is going to lock down and not let Alabama run the ball, make them very one-dimensional. Kirby's kind of gotten the better Alabama in the last couple of times in the SEC championship game. I like Georgia here. I like Georgia to win the SEC and cement, somewhere probably a top 2 seed at worst. So I'll take the Bulldogs here. And I think Alabama's eliminated from the playoff.
I'm taking Georgia here as well. So I'm 2 for 2, agreeing with Bill here. Don't necessarily like it, but here we are. I think with Bama, though, they are in a position where, as well as I think Ty Simpson is playing, I think offensively, I still have a ton of question marks. Jan Miller went down in the game against Auburn last week, and I think that's a concern for me. I look at it as Ryan Williams was a top 5 receiver in all of college football last year, but the past month, he's turned into a ghost in that offense, and that's a huge concern for me. And I also think of it as Alex, you made the great point of with the last matchup. It's tough to beat the same team twice in the same season. And while I did pick Texas Tech in the game against BYU, I think it's a little bit different because of how one-sided that game looked. Well, if you remember earlier in the year when Georgia played Bama, Georgia basically blew this game away. Like, they should have won the football game, and they ultimately didn't. So I think that's on their mind here. I think they will be locked in, and with it being essentially that de facto home game, I do think Georgia will take care of business and secure a first round playoff bye here as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting here because obviously Alabama won the first matchup by 3, 24-21. Georgia was at home. This is another essentially a home game for Georgia as well. But for me, man, I got to look at the teams fighting for their life who know that there is no tomorrow unless they win. Just like our startup theme for Break the Huddle, just like the replacements, man, the Alabama Crimson Tide know that what they did against Florida State earlier in the year when they lost, that cost them a chance to guarantee themselves a spot in the playoff. But they know that they have a chance against Georgia tomorrow to step up. Alabama has been Kirby Smart's kryptonite for his entire career. Doesn't matter who's coaching. Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer, it hasn't mattered. Alabama's found a way to beat Kirby Smart in Georgia. And I think, even though I said it, it's hard to beat a team twice. Bama's playing for more. And I think the way that Ty Simpson has been playing recently, I have a lot of confidence in him. I was talking really low about him at the beginning of the year, not really trusting his arm. And I hadn't seen enough of him. Now I've seen what he's done throughout the season. There's a reason why he's going to be a finalist in New York for the Heisman Trophy. And there's a reason why Gunnar Stockton is not. The first time around, Gunnar Stockton was ineffective against Alabama. He was 13 for 20, 130 yards and a touchdown. They really kind of locked down the receivers. And they really, like I said, Georgia was able to control the ground and control the clock. 6.9 yards per carry. Bama has completely redone their defensive schematics since then and have been fantastic against the run. I think this is all Bama all the way. Georgia may jump out to an early lead, but I think Bama's going to pull it off after halftime, make some adjustments, come out. Bama's going to win this game, solidify themselves in the college football playoff. And I don't want Bama in there, but this is how I see the game playing out. And I think Kalen DeBoer and Bama is going to continue to be Kirby Smart's kryptonite.
And so you're just looking for the true chaos here.
Anarchy.
And this is even more anarchy.
Last but not least.
Not last. Second to last.
Are they the same time?
Yeah, same exact time. 5 o'clock. Both at 5.
All right.
Or 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Time.
Normal time.
That's why West Coast is the best. The game will be over. I still have plenty of time to be awake and do stuff. Y'all gotta go to bed.
I couldn't imagine setting an alarm to watch Ohio State play football. Like I'd rather just let it build in my morning. And
I don't. I set an alarm for this show, and then Ohio State happens to be on after.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Phil, continue.
This will be what? Bank of America Stadium, I'm assuming, in Charlotte, home of the Carolina Panthers. We will take the 17th ranked Virginia Cavaliers versus, the Duke Blue Devils that like to play football. They got a couple losses this year. Only a couple. I mean, this is the game that can kind of really, I guess, finish the evening with just absolute chaos, because the next game isn't going to matter because they're both in regardless. Duke could somehow pull this out. You're going to have a 5-loss conference champion. You're looking at it for the first time, and I know it's only year 2, but you would have a Power 4 conference team not making the playoff. Virginia would obviously drop, and I don't see how Duke would come far enough up in the rankings. And I just don't think you can justify putting a 5-loss team in the college football playoffs, though.
Also, one of those 5 losses was Tulane, so Duke can't jump Tulane. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's what you think.
Head-to-heads don't matter.
Head-to-head don't matter. When was that game? Yeah, that had to be the first couple weeks.
Week 3.
That's so long ago. It was 9 months ago.
Right. Duke's gotten worse since then.
So listen, Virginia had a great moment earlier this year when they knocked off Florida State. Me and Cottrell were watching that game live together, and I still swear to this day there was kids in the end zone out of the stands before the wide receiver from Virginia really caught the football. It was nuts. Great moment. And I've watched them. Honestly, they are so up and down. Their offense can go almost halves of football games at a time without getting a first down. It is so stagnant and predictable at times. Duke, on the other hand, just comes out, kind of plays. I don't call it schoolyard football, but they're going to sling it. They're going to throw the ball and they're going to make you score to stay in this game, and they're going to move it. I honestly worry if Virginia's offense is going to show for this game. Duke's defense is not great, so I mean, you really have no excuse to not be able to move the football against Duke. But to join Alex here, I'm going to embrace the chaos. I think Duke upsets Virginia. I think they win the ACC, and then I just wait for Sunday night and all hell to break loose with the rankings.
So with this, for me, it's kind of tough because I want Duke to win this football game. Like it would bring me no more joy than to see Duke win this football game and force the committee to make these tough decisions. But again, another matchup that we saw in the regular season where it wasn't necessarily close. Virginia went to Duke and they handled their business. And I saw that game and they got it done. And their quarterback, Chandler Morris, threw 2 interceptions in that game and it didn't matter. And they still won by 3 possessions. So for me, I'm looking at it like, all right, well, now they're going to be on a neutral site, which would benefit Virginia in this case, as opposed to traveling, down to Duke playing in their home stadium. And I get it. Virginia's offense as a whole is Jekyll and Hyde. And some games they look good, some games they don't. And Duke has honestly had it going the last 2 weeks. Again, granted, it was only against North Carolina and Wake Forest, but their offense has had it rolling. They scored 49 and then 32 the week before that. So with that said, as much as I want Duke to win the football game, I am rolling with Virginia here. I hate to be boring, but I just think that Virginia, you talk about desperate teams and, previously Alex as well there. Like I do like that point there. I think Virginia knows like, hey, we're the better football team here. And if we win this game, we're going to go to the college football playoff for the first time in history. And this is going to go down as probably one of the more successful seasons Virginia's ever had. So I think Virginia gets it done in this game.
You know who's had a really good season that we really haven't talked about? Well, I think we've mentioned him a few times, but Darian Mensah, man, like 3,400 yards, 28 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. The dude does not turn the ball over. And I don't trust Virginia's pass offense. And I don't trust Morris. I don't trust Chandler Morris at all. I know that the previous meeting he had 2 interceptions. I know this season he's got 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 2 of them against Duke the last time out. I think if Duke can force another 2 turnovers in this game and they can get their run game going, the first matchup they only had 43 total rushing yards. I think if they can kind of make it so they're not a one-dimensional offense in this game, control the clock, I think this is really the sky's the limit for Duke here. Virginia lost to Wake Forest. Duke just came off of beating Wake Forest, scoring 49 points. Virginia could only score 9, I believe. So like I said, Duke's offense is rolling right now. They were 5-5 last time 5-4 last time these teams played. Obviously, it's been a few weeks since then. Darian Mensah, dude, like he is probably my favorite quarterback we don't really talk about. I like his play style. I like his arm talent. I like what he's able to do. I think Duke comes out, and I think Duke wins this game. I know I've been choosing a lot of these games for the most chaos, but I felt pretty strongly about Duke since I saw this matchup. My initial instinct was Duke's going to pull out this win. I don't trust Virginia, and maybe that's just because I'm thinking about how Virginia has been the last few years. But for something is telling me don't pick Virginia in this game. Duke's going to have their way, and they're going to take care of business. So I'm going to stick with my gut on this one. Virginia may have the better record, better overall stats, and Virginia may have the 1-0 record against Duke. But my gut's telling me Duke's going to pull out this game, and ultimate chaos is going to ensue. Okay.
Last but certainly not least, we go to the Big Ten. Biggest game of the night, in my opinion. Number 1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, number 2 ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana. 1 versus 2. I mean, what else can you really ask for here? It kind of sells itself. I think Indiana is the first team that I think is equipped, I would say, to really challenge Ohio State in all aspects of the game. I think last week, Michigan did it in some areas, but in other areas, Ohio State was just elite and they were just better. I think Indiana's offense is going to challenge Ohio State's defense. I think they're going to make it work for it. I do. Mendoza's had an incredible year, and he's going to go up against the best secondary he's seen all season. And I would say likewise, probably for Ohio State as well. It's close. But everything aside, I like the toughness of Indiana, and I say that because hold your ears, Alex. But when they went up to Eugene and really took that game over, being physical in the second half and really punched Oregon in its mouth, and Oregon has a very good defense. I was impressed. I think this Indiana team is very good. I think they're definitely going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. That being said, Ohio State is playing just on a different level of confidence right now. They know how good they are. They believe in how good they are, but more importantly, they're not playing overconfident. They're still playing. They're still playing team football. They're still, they're fishing on both sides of the ball, and they're still they're playing their game. They're playing their brand of football, and they're still executing on all levels. So, spread somewhere around 4.5, I think. Um, for I think Ohio State wins by at least a touchdown. I'm going to take the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I mean, I got to personally see Indiana this year, obviously, as they played Oregon. I didn't get a chance to see Ohio State as often. And for me, it really just comes down to, Indiana's rushing attack versus Ohio State's run defense. For an RFC, Mendoza had a fantastic season, but Indiana's offense really gets going from having a steady rushing attack, being able to establish themselves on the ground and having that open up the pass later in the game. So if it really comes down to, can Ohio State eliminate that rushing attack? When we played Indiana, it felt like every single time we had them to a third and 5, 3rd and 6, we couldn't get them off the field. So for me, the first couple of drives, I want to see how Ohio State reacts to, one, their offensive style, and two, I want to see how they're able to essentially get Indiana off the field, force 3 and outs, maybe allow a first down or 2, and then get them off the field. That's what I want to see. I want to see the Ohio State defense line up against Indiana's offense. And that's the most intriguing matchup for me. This is a tough one to call. 4-point spread, I think that's right on. This is essentially a home game for Indiana, if we're being completely honest about it. I do think Ohio State fans travel well, though, so I think that will be obviously a good showing there. But I think that Indiana finds a way to pull off the upset here. I think Indiana wins the Big Ten championship. I think that Indiana and Mendoza, I think Curt Cignetti has schemed some stuff up. I have never seen anybody, Ohio State included, have the kind of success that Indiana's defense had on Oregon's offense at Austin. Like the amount of at Austin, Cottrell, get that look off your face, because I know that that's what your face is about. So when we play at Austin, it's a whole different animal. And the way Indiana was able to come in there, endure the sound, endure the noise, and still pull off a 10-point upset against my Oregon Ducks, I'm still impressed by that. I think Curt Cignetti, he's a man on a mission. And I think that's going to end in the Big Ten championship. Go ahead, Cottrell.
For me, I think, of course, Indiana goes, their rushing attack goes. I have no worries that Ohio State is going to stop the rushing attack. I do think, if anything, this is going to turn into Mendoza against Sand, and I do think Cignetti is going to let him, let it fly, essentially. So I think they got 2 really good receiver in Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, who Elijah Surratt had the big game in Austin, where it felt like every third down, that's who Mendoza was going after. So for me, I think that is the big thing to really look out for. And not to say that Indiana can't run the ball. Like, I 100% think that Indiana is a good team at running, but I think Ohio State's defense, the way they're equipped, it's going to be a lot of, just 3-yard runs here, 2-yard runs there, getting Indiana ultimately behind the sticks. And I think third down is going to be the critical part. Is Indiana going to convert 3rd and longs, or is Ohio State going to ultimately get off the field? And Ohio State all year has gotten off the field there, and that defense has played incredible. Now, yes, is this going to be the best offense that Ohio State has seen this year? I'd say yes. With how Indiana's played this year, it's hard not to say that. But with all that said, though, I do think Ohio State's defense is going to be too much there. And on the flip side of it, I think Ohio State's offense, while I don't think they're going to necessarily dominate, I'd be shocked if they didn't put up at least 24, 27 points in this game. So I look at it as like a 27-17, 27-13 kind of football game where, the score isn't necessarily indicative of how close the game was. But I do think Ohio State takes care of business because they are I think they're the better football team. They have the better athletes, pretty much everywhere. And I do think, where Indiana has success on the flip side of it, you do have to go up against that Ohio State defense there. And I mean, as good as Indiana's defense has been, I think it's going to be tough to stop Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, because one way or another, I think they've shown you this season that if you take one away, the other one's going to eat, and you can't double both of them. And Julian Sayin, to his credit, has been patient enough to where if it's not there with those two guys, he has no problem just dumping it off underneath and taking the 5 yards. Like, he doesn't chase the big play there. So one thing I'm very happy that Julian's been doing so far. But with Indiana's scheme, I'd like to play zone coverage. I truly think if that's what they run into, what they run in this game tomorrow night, Julian Sayin will have no problem just checking it down underneath and just getting consistent 6, 7, 8 yard plays. And I think it's going to be too much for Indiana to overcome there.
All right. So there we have it.
That is end of previews.
I think all that leaves is the mountain.
Oh, my poor Tombstone.
That is true.
Oh, there it is. All right. Well, at least I have a banner. Kiss my ass, Alex.
Wow. What a dick.
This is what a Richard. This is what we have left, folks. And I would dare say there might be some teams that don't even play this weekend. They're going to end up getting tombstoned here, which could make it fun. It's accurate. Got to start. I think for the most part, except for some times where Alex's personal bias has influenced this mountain this year, we've done a good job. So I don't think there's anything to argue now. I have no gripes with it anyway. I don't know about you two.
Well, Alex made it, so I know he has no gripes with it. But Texas and Vandy at base camp, I mean, I think that's perfect. Let them sit by the fire and watch everybody go up, because I don't
let them talk about what could have been. Let them share campfire stories of what could have been.
Exactly. So I think that's perfect for them. Look at everybody go up the mountain and you wave to them from the ground, and as they go up, and you wish them a bunch of luck. So I think that's perfect. But the one thing, though, that I will absolutely not let slide here is that we talked about it on the intro, but I will be damned if we go the entire episode and we don't have a recap of Ohio State beating Michigan this past weekend. I will be damned if that doesn't happen.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we will.
Hey, we didn't have any. We don't have Pick'em this week necessarily because we're all conference championship games. So let's take the Pick'em segment. Cottrell, go ahead and bask in your.
Who won? Who ended up winning Pick'em though?
I will pull it up now. I know Alex 100% won Superdog, and then
who won the real one though?
It appeared, Bill, you were the Pick'em champion. Alex, you finished at 500 though after a 3-0 week. Bill, you finished at 24-15. Quite impressive, my friend. And then I was at 19-23 on the year.
Brother, you're supposed to be the expert.
NFL's been my thing this year.
You ever notice how he's just Cottrell now? He's no longer a college Cottrell. He's just Cottrell. So
you should just
the college part back.
You should just be Elmore, Mr. Bareface. How about that?
Bro, my skin, man, needs a break.
How about that? Yeah, no, I don't want to hear it.
My skin needs a break.
Bareface Elmore. How about that? How's that sound?
It's my pores.
It's my pores, man. But Cottrell, how does it feel? Hold on. Cottrell, how does it feel?
Let him recap this. Go ahead.
I mean, it feels wonderful. I had to hear all week about how, it'd be more of the same, and Michigan would be able to run the ball, and Ohio State's going to be afraid of the weather, and this and that, and this and that, and that just wasn't the case. It snowed, and Ohio State's offense still looked exactly how it looked the rest of the season there. So I will say, I'm gonna give you a little peek behind the curtain. Julian saying threw that interception on the second throw or whatever, and I was like, here we fucking go again. Like it just felt
Right.
like that was going to be that kind of game. But then seeing him that next drive, although they only scored 3 points on it, seeing that he wasn't afraid to still take shots, seeing that he wasn't rattled, I was like, all right, we're going to be in good shape. Like seeing the next drive, although it only ended in 3, definitely made me feel a lot better. And I'm like, we're going to win this football game. But after the interception first happened, though, I was like, we cannot let this happen again. Like this can't happen for the 5th time in a row. With that said, I know Bill had his thoughts about it being a touchback on the Jeremiah Smith touchdown. I can neither confirm nor deny if it was a
refs
touchback or not.
That they talked to you on the show said it was a touchback. He's it's a touchback. No way it's a touchdown.
I mean, that's fine, but I have a hard time just stomaching the fact that the ball never touched the ground and we're going to call something a touchback. But that's just me. I get it. Letter of the law could be one thing. But in my mind, I told Bill this on the show on Wednesday, Alex. I'm not sure if you caught it, but I said they had, Jayshon Barham headbutt an official and they gave him a personal foul or whatever, and then didn't eject him. So in my mind, we're even. You had a player that played the whole game that should have been ejected. They gave us a touchdown that, should or should not have counted. In my book, all's fair in love and war.
I mean,
you with me on that one, Alex?
It's still such a stretch. One's a scoring play, one's not. I mean, let's just start
exactly. No, he should have been ejected for coming in contact with an official. I think the touchdown and that's the motivation, the momentum that gave the Buckeyes. Because Michigan was up at that point. I think it was what 9-3 at that point. I believe it was.
It was 6-3.
6-3. So Michigan was up at that point. So that was a huge momentum shift to allow that touchdown to stand. So though I think Ohio State still would have won the game, I don't feel great about that call.
But this is what I also said,
and this is why I didn't harp on it. If it would have been a touchdown game, if we would have lost by 7 points, I would have lost my goddamn mind. Like there have been problems. The call was so. I told Coachella this on Wednesday. The call was so bad. I was watching the SEC games later, and they were talking about it on that broadcast how it should have been called back. And the guy that they used for their referee and rules official, that guy said it should have been called back. Again, in the end all be all, it didn't matter. Ohio State was better. They won the game, is what it is, but still doesn't make the call right.
I said Barham had to stop when we scored our first field goal. It was in the red zone or whatever. Barham had to stop. Julian Saying got stopped on the QB sneaks. Barham was in on those plays there. So if he's not there, maybe those don't happen and we score a touchdown on that drive instead. And the whole course of the game is different anyway. So I'm saying no harm, no foul in my mind. You got 2 blown calls. You messed it up both ways.
This is why nobody likes you guys. You guys are insufferable. You won the game. Like everybody's conceding the fact, and you're still bitching about calls.
I'm just saying, you headbutt an official, you stay in the game, and we're just blowing by that. Not to mention on the play that we're talking about being a touchback. If you actually look at the replay, the kid got burnt on the double move and just tugged Jeremiah anyway. It should have been a holding call. They held the flag in their pocket because it was a touchdown. But, whatever. We're ignoring that asset of it too.
Anyway, any other closing statements before we go watch some football tonight?
No, I'm exhausted.
Just had to sneak that in there.
I'm exhausted with this now.
That's okay.
Good. Well, you think about this for the next 365 days, and then we'll do this song and dance again.
That's fine. I spent like 2,100 days thinking about how we beat you 4 in a row. I'm not worried.
Yeah, 4 in a row.
He can do a quick 365. He can do a quick
4 in a row is right. We gave you guys 10 in a row before that happened.
365 is a short bid. I'll be here before I know it.
It's built in 8 years. Built in 8 years.
Exactly. I'm built for this. I'm built for jail. God damn it.
1 year, or you did 8, son.
Facts.
365 bid. You crazy. All right, gentlemen. Great show as always. I love both of you. So much fun. Bunch of big games next 2 days. Listen. we appreciate if you guys, sign up, subscribe, share, click the little bell thing or whatever it is. So when we go live, you guys get a notification to join us. Might have a special show on Sunday. So if you are subscribed and all that good stuff, we may or may not come back on live Sunday when we do the final ranking. So just a little hint, little foreshadowing. So be ready to join us there as well. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
The only other thing here real quick that I wanted to add was I know this is a special edition show, and I know, we're going live on Friday. If you missed any parts of this show, of course, you can watch us back whenever, like on Facebook, YouTube, whatever. But if you do want to, catch it kind of like a live rerun kind of thing, we will still be airing this exact same show in our normal time slot on Saturday there as well. So just kind of something to lock in with. And if you're catching this show, you got all the way to the end on Saturday and you're like, what the hell are these guys talking about? Today's Saturday. Well, you get it now that, we're airing the show Friday night and also in our normal slot on Saturday morning too. So just giving you guys that information there as well.
And I got
Great
nothing.
point. Got nothing? All right, boys. That is it. Enjoy the games tonight. Enjoy the games Saturday, and we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be vindicated on Sunday. Vindicated.
You hope.
I hope.
I'm going to be
All right, boys.
on Sunday.
You might be.
All right. See you.
All right, gents.